With a little bit of effort, a great sense of adventure, and a modest amount of money, that wilderness fishing trip of a lifetime can be realized. We're in Northern Ontario, Canada, fishing with Sudbury Aviation. We're on the hunt for native, wild, pre-spawn brook trout. All this is coming up next on The New Fly Fisher.
The New Fly Fisher has been made possible thanks to Northeastern Ontario Tourism, GoFishinOntario.com, Orvis Sporting Traditions, Scientific Anglers, Able Reels, Ross Reels, Superfly, fly fishing for everyone.
Have you ever wondered what fishing was like, say, 100 years ago? Back to a time when there were giants and lots of them? Well, I have just found a place where proper fish management can take you back in time to unbelievable fishing. A short drive and an even shorter float plane ride, and you're transported to a system of lakes where the fishing has the opportunity to be just as fantastic as it must have been generations ago. This plane ride takes you back to a time when you had to literally do everything for yourself. Hunt and gather food, live by fire, bathe in the lake. You didn't have the comforts of computers and electricity. A short drive from Toronto, Ontario, or Sault Ste. Marie lands you at Sudbury Aviation, and a short puddle jump flight to your personal remote outpost cabin. There isn't any electricity, running water, or heaters here, but what these places do have is the opportunity to catch true trophy fish such as bass, pike, or walleye. On this trip, we're hunting native wild Ontario brook trout.
So we had about a 4.5-hour drive from my house to get to the town of Sudbury, and you know, I'm already ready to go fishing. This brook trout adventure is just about to start. Where else can you literally jump in a car, jump in a float plane, and by mid-afternoon, be ready to catch absolute trophies?
It's late September, and it's the last week of the brook trout season. Brook trout require cold, clean, well-oxygenated water to survive and will eat a variety of creatures, including emerging insects, fish, crustaceans, amphibians, and even small mammals.
Here we are on basically an unnamed lake that has never been mapped. The lake is called Upper Dua by the locals. When figuring out a lake for the first time, there's a single approach that I like to take. It's a three-sided approach that has you look for, number one, oxygenation, number two, look for structure, and number three, look for depth and temperature. Well, depth is easy to find. Structure on shoreline is easy to find, but the oxygenation part is often very difficult. This is a spring-fed lake, and unless we get lucky and are able to find where the spring comes in, we're basically out of luck when it comes to that. One of the things that I like to do is bring along a portable sonar unit, just like this one. Very simple to use. It matches through Bluetooth to your iPhone or your iPad or what have you, your smart device. And it will give you depth, temperature, and it'll allow you to see those structure breaks anywhere that you deploy it. This one's great. It's called Fish Hunter. It can go up to 120 feet in depth, and you can use it up to 80 feet away from your device. So all you do is just toss it in, get out your smartphone, Bluetooth it out, and you can figure things out just like that. On the way out here, we talked about three things that you look for when you're trying to break down a lake: oxygenation, structure, and depth. Well, 2 out of 3 isn't all that bad right now. As you can see, we've got a rocky shoreline with significant wooden deadfall in it, and I just found a little creek in the south end of this lake that seems to be trickling in, so that might be just enough to bring these brook trout in. We've got deep water out here, to 20 feet, and this is a shallow bay. They're staging, getting ready to spawn. This is as good a spot as any to begin. All right. So what we've been doing is we've been picking this bay apart. I had a strike out in the middle, and what we've done is, you know, we take a bit of a page from ice anglers that fish for brook trout. I was just thinking to myself that, you know, when things slow down when you're ice fishing for brook trout, a lot of times anglers will take their snow machines and they'll zip around the lake a couple times to stir things up. I just backed in to this bay, and it was the first cast into the shallows. Now these fish, it is late September. We're actually in the last week of the season in this region in Ontario. Some brook trout areas are already closed, but this one is late September, and these fish are starting to get their spawning colors on, and they're absolutely radiantly beautiful. Now this is what you come to Northern Ontario for. Pre-spawn brook trout. Probably a 3-pound fish. Cannot complain. It is absolutely spectacular. On fly, you simply can't beat it. Fly just pops out. Make sure he's good. I think he's good to go. By all intents and purposes, he's ready to get back at finding a mate. Beautiful.
We're very fortunate to be 4 hours from the borders. You're here in one day. You can drive up, fly to camp, and have supper at camp. Each cabin, each location has a steam bath house. So everybody uses the lake water. Steam bath is to keep yourself clean and neat. And the cabins are one large room with bunk beds at the back and kitchen facilities at the front. But it's very reasonably priced, and we do very well when we entertain parties of 4, 6, and 8. This lake in particular is only speckled trout, but a 5-minute trail north will take you to a lake where bass, smallmouth bass are plentiful, as well as some large northern pike. And most lakes have 2 or 3 species. We have walleye and pike lakes only to the northwest, so you can pick and choose your lake. Many people, we're running 75% repeat guests, and they bring neighbors and friends and so on. And word of mouth is the best advertising, and we're very fortunate.
Brook trout will readily eat anything they can fit in their mouths. They aren't picky in any way. Quite the opposite, actually, and during the pre-spawn, they are aggressive towards anything that comes near their spawning territory. However, as with all fly fishing, you stack the deck in your favor if you have the opportunity to present flies that mimic what the fish are eating.
All right, we're very fortunate here to have this. We've been seeing all these little flicks flipping around, and I put on a dry fly to see if I could get something to bite, thinking that hopefully it was a trout, but it's not. It's actually what these brook trout are eating. This is a bait fish of some kind. It's probably a dace, and if you can see the colors on it, it's absolutely gorgeous with a dark back, a blue side, silver bottom. This is a gold mine to have. If you can ever get yourself to actually catch some of the bait fish that these fish are eating, you're 90% off to the races. Fish. That was awesome. Came right off the tip of that felled pine, and I paused it. And I saw that fish come in, swoop and grab it. So one of the keys to these fish, in my opinion, is, I mean, remember, they're very pre-spawn. Oh, don't do that, buddy. They're very pre-spawn, so they're very aggressive. But what you have to be careful is if you're coming into these pre-spawn areas, you need to be very stealthy. So coming in stealth on their pre-spawn areas is vital. Now, fortunately, we had just hooked on a dry fly, a bait fish, and I tied on a wet fly that mimicked that bait fish. Don't do that, don't do that. And if I can get this guy netted, I'll show you exactly what that bait fish was, what that pattern was. But it's all about paying attention to the cues. The cues began with, nice. The cues began with rising, what we thought were rising par, little trout. But that's not the case. What they were actually the bait fish that these brookies are feeding on. Oh, what a great trout. Let me get comfortable, wet my hands. Look at that, the fly just fell out, perfect. I'll show this to you in a little bit. But okay, so with some stealthy tactics and paying attention to the cues that Mother Nature's given us, we were able to land this beautiful brook trout. You could see its tail is starting to wear a little bit. That means they're getting ready to spawn. Perfect release too. Amazing, absolutely great. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually let this spot rest. There's a bunch of bays up the lake that we're gonna hit. We're gonna see if we can get another one. All right, let's take a look at the fly that brook trout took. It's a wonderful fly, tied by realflies.ca. It's got a gold skull head with a blue top back, a white underbelly, and it looks like some orange and black flashabou or marabou strands within. I did not clip the barb down, as it's not regulation to, but we mimicked the bait fish that we saw, that we actually caught on dry fly, and it proved to be 100% productive. Fish. Keep up, keep up, keep up. What a way to start the morning, and what a way to get the blood pumping on a cold, crisp September day. Oh, it's a good one too. That is a big brookie. You gotta love pre-spawn. You just do. It is absolutely remarkable, the fish that you get. Ooh, I'm already out of breath and it's 8:30 a.m. You gotta love this game. You absolutely have to love it. Sure, they give you a challenge. Sure, they put up a great fight. But when you can find them and locate them, they're so territorial at this time of year, they'll just whack anything you throw their way. Yeah, you're gonna see the net and get freaked out, yep. See? Oh, good fish. And the crazy thing about this fishery is that it is within a half a day's drive and a short flight into this wonderful little lake. Haven't seen another soul, haven't seen a piece of garbage, a piece of trash, just an outpost camp that has everything you'd ever need, including giant Ontario brook trout. Come on, I don't like this. The longer you go, the more of a chance they have. But with light tippet, you can't horse them in. Oh, he barely fits in the net. Incredible. All right, let's see if we can get this hook out. Oh, look, it did. It's already out. Perfect. Well, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to show you this fish, though. Get my mesh. Get it wet. Oh, like I say, I think that this is the biggest brookie of the trip. Look at that. Pre-spawn colors. Look at the size of his head. It's giant. White on the pec fins, the anal fins, just the red spots. Just incredible. Okay, I'm gonna let this guy back in. Oh, cold water. Yeah, I think he's ready to go. After I released that last brook trout, I remember making the comment about how cold the water was. So I dropped the portable sonar unit off in the bay, and I was astonished at what I found. The ambient temperature so far on this trip has been between 59 and 60 degrees for the lake. Well, when I dropped the sonar unit in and looked at my iPhone, the water temperature was actually 49 to 51. That's a 10-degree difference. Now, earlier we spoke about 3 major things that you need to look for when trying to figure out a lake: temperature and depth, structure, and oxygenation. Well, part of oxygenation comes from where you can find the springs. The difference in temperature between the ambient lake and this back bay of 10 degrees tells me that I have actually found where one of the underground springs is. What's cool about that is that you've got wood structure, rock structure, you've got depth moving into shallow, and you've got cool water. It's the perfect spawning habitat for these brook trout in the next month or so. And that's why they're staging there. They're all starting to get ready to get their mojo on, and that's why they're so aggressive when we're throwing flies at them. I wanted to run through the essential equipment we used while fishing native wild brook trout here in Northern Ontario. First of all, let's talk about the fishing rod. This is the Orvis Access. It's a 10-foot 5-weight tip flex rod. It's perfect for dry fly presentations as well as indicator fishing, which we attempted here to try to catch these brookies. The reel is the Able TR2. It is spooled up with Scientific Anglers 5-weight, weight-forward floating line, and has about 6-pound fluorocarbon tippet on it. It's absolutely perfect for brookies. For subsurface applications, we chose the Orvis Helios 2 fly rod, which is 9-foot 6-weight, paired up with the Able Super 6N fly reel. The line is Scientific Anglers intermediate sinking line, paired up with a 9-foot 6-pound fluorocarbon leader. On the business end, all my flies are supplied by realflies.ca. They are perfect for anything you want to do when catching native wild brook trout here in Ontario. This is amazing. I absolutely love it. We've been throwing at this log in this back bay for, oh, it's a great fish too, for a while. And throughout the week, it's been quite productive. But for some reason, things changed. Something changed. So I decided that I was going to slowly back in to this bay and hit the log at a different angle. And sure enough, first cast, we're on. So you switch up flies, and you switch up the angle, and all of a sudden, a very different ball game. We threw mice at him, we threw streamers at him, and all it took was a little conehead muddler. It looks like a crayfish almost. He wants to go back in there, and I'm not going to let him. He's pulling me in, though. Huffy puffy. That's great. Another beast of a brook trout. Flies out. Just give this guy a quick breath. This is even bigger than the other ones. Every time we come to these back bays and pull a fish off this structure, a bigger one seems to move in. How much longer can this continue? All right, shall we take a look? Let me get my tailing mesh. That is a chunk of a brook trout. Look at that. Absolutely amazingly gorgeous and ready to go already. Let's get it back. Just like that. So, changing things up when things aren't going the way you expect them proved to be successful here. We threw at a log that we'd pulled some fish off in the past, we threw it from a different angle. First cast, things changed, hook up. And that, I swear, was the biggest fish of the trip so far. Well, there you have it. The DIY, do-it-yourself wilderness brook trout adventure is in the books. For more information on how to have your adventure of a lifetime, log on to www.thenewflyfisher.com. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody at Sudbury Aviation for making this possible. Check them out yourselves. You know what? Time to get on the plane. Thanks for watching. From everybody here at the New Fly Fisher, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully, we'll see you in the backcountry.
The New Fly Fisher has been made possible thanks to Northeastern Ontario Tourism, GoFishinOntario.com, Orvis Sporting Traditions, Scientific Anglers, Able Reels, Ross Reels, Superfly, fly fishing for everyone.
To learn more about the New Fly Fisher, our locations, contests, news, and much more, come visit and like us on Facebook.